where we can help those who help others. Of course, we're talking about caregivers this afternoon because today is National Caregiver Day, and we're shining a spotlight on those who serve people who require long-term or even hospice care. And here to share why that is so important is Christine Heisted from the Tri-County Office on Aging. How are you this afternoon?
I'm really great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all the work it is that you do on a day-to-day basis. But I want you to kind of make our viewers understand exactly what the role of a caregiver is. So can you walk us through, and I know that looks different for everybody,
right, but
kind of walk us through what a day-to-day looks like.
I think we first want to recognize a lot of people don't even identify themselves as a caregiver. This is just something that they're doing or what's expected of them. So whether they're caring for an aging parent or a spouse, a lot of people don't recognize that they are a caregiver, and that creates a lot of stress and a lot of difficult decisions for caregivers to make on the day-to-day basis. Even caregivers that have a loved one in long-term care, they don't recognize themselves as a caregiver because they're no longer providing that hands-on care, but they still are a caregiver. They're making decisions. They're an advocate.
Also, like you mentioned, of course, it can be those parents, those relatives of someone, but who else can actually be in this position?
Oh, spouses, adult children, or neighbors. You know, it's not just blood relation that are caregivers. So it's anyone that's providing care in the home or in a nursing facility, long-term care, they are caregivers. If you're going shopping for somebody, if you're doing hands-on care, if you're doing laundry, if you're an advocate, if you're making decisions on somebody else's behalf, you're a caregiver.
Yeah, and you know, now that you say that, I think a lot of us are kind of sitting here and kind of recognizing in our own day-to-day, hey, maybe we are a caregiver and we didn't even realize that actually, or maybe we have served in that position without recognizing that before.
Right, absolutely.
Well, like you said, Christine, sometimes when you are in that role, it does cause stress. But what are some of those other challenges that you find caregivers do face?
They feel very isolated. They feel like as if they're alone. And that's something that I hear almost every day from caregivers, that they feel that no one else understands. Even though they intellectually understand that they're not the only caregiver, feels as if no one understands, feels very isolating. So that's why we want to provide that support for caregivers through Tri-County Office on Aging.
Yeah, and speaking of that support, kind of walk us through the different options that people have.
Yeah, so we have an options counselor at Tri-County Office on Aging where that person can sit down in person, over the phone, over video conference, whatever that family and care receiver prefers, and walk them through what are the resources available in the community. We also have 3 different caregiver workshops that are educational where groups of caregivers can come together either in person or virtually on different topics. We also have our information and assistance team who answers all of those calls from caregivers. Like, I know there's resources out there, but what is available? Our team of people are there to answer those calls. We also have support groups available. We just started this initiative to offer 4 virtual caregiver support groups throughout the month. We have a general caregiver support group, a dementia caregiver support group, a kinship caregiver support group. We also have an online support system called TrueAlta that is an online platform that offers additional opportunities for education through articles, videos. So there's lots of options out there for caregivers to get that support through Tri-County Office on Aging.
When we are taking care of somebody else, we put our mental health, our physical health, we're putting ourselves on the back burner. And sometimes, hey, in the same capacity that we're helping somebody else, it's okay to call for help on our own too as well.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you highlighted that because it is extremely stressful for caregivers, and self-care does sometimes go out the window. They put the needs of that person in front of their own. They make sure that person gets to their doctor's appointment, but they don't have time to get to their own. So we really want those folks to call Tri-County Office on Aging and get some support from us. One of those educational workshops I mentioned called Powerful Tools for Caregivers, it's a 6-week workshop, and we talk all about self-care. That's the whole focus, is self-care, because it's that important. Quite honestly, if something happens to you, who's going to take care of that person?
So it's important that as we're taking care of the people who we love in our lives, especially in those hard moments, we still have to make sure that, hey, in order for us to give the best care, we have to make sure we're showing that towards ourselves too.
You're absolutely right. And a lot of people think it's selfish to do that, but it's actually a gift not only to yourself, but to that person, because if you're less stressed, you're usually going to find a stressful situation maybe a little more humorous than if you weren't well rested. So it's truly a gift to that person, not just yourself.
Thank you so much for detailing all of that for us, Christine.
Yes, thank you.
And of course, you gave us a lot of resources. We have a website right here below where you can find those resources and get the help that you and your loved one needs. So thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for the invitation.